card, we're going to do all of our big shotting first. So I have a piece of crumb cake that's going to be 2 inches by 5.5, and I have the stripes embossing folder. And so I'm just going to zip this on through the big shot. Okay, and that's going to give us our fabulous texture for our card. I love the embossing folders. The next thing that we're going to do is some die cutting. So let me scoot the platform out of the way. And I'm going to use the Tasteful Trim Die, and I'm going to use the giant scallop on there. So I have a piece of cardstock that is the cherry cobbler. It's about 1.5 inches. That part doesn't matter. This is a great time to use up scraps. What does matter is that it is 5.5 inches long. So I'm going to get that on this scallop. Now I'm using my short cutting plates just because I can. I don't have to cut a long piece. And that is going to give us our fabulous scallop. So let me move the big shot. So now we're going to do our stamping, and I'm going to be using the Snow Much Fun stamp set. And I'm going to start with the Christmas tree. So I'm using the black Staz-on ink pad. And anytime I'm using Staz-on, I prefer to stamp onto a piece of scratch paper first and then re-ink it. It makes my next image 10 times better. I don't know why. I guess it just primes the stamp. So I've got that good and inked up, and I'm going to stamp it onto a piece of watercolor paper that is going to be 3.5 by 2.25 inches. So just hold that in place for a second. And we have our beautiful Christmas tree. So let me close this one. Next I want the cherry cobbler ink. And I have a piece of scratch cardstock, and I'm using and it's a crumb cake, and I'm using the sentiment from the stamp set. Get that inked up. I'm just going to stamp it right across there. So this little piece of crumb cake is 1/2 inch wide, and then we're going to do some trimming. So now I can close this up, and we are ready to start assembling most of our card. The base of my card is going to be garden green, and it's 4.25 by 11 inches, scored at 5.5. Fold that over. Then we're going to take our stripe piece, our scalloped piece, and then an extra piece of cherry cobbler. And this is just going to be a scratch piece. It's going to be 5.5 inches long, but really the width of it doesn't matter. You'll see why in just a moment. So I'm going to start with my scallop, and I know I'm going a little snail crazy there. I'm going to put this onto my card with about 3/8 of an inch on the left hand side of the scallops. Then I'm going to need my ribbon. So this is the Quilted Satin Cherry Cobbler ribbon. It is so, so, so yummy. And I'm going to use my mini glue dots to hold this in place. So you just cut a piece that's a little bit longer than your cardstock. I'm going to do a glue dot on each end. Pull that up and wrap it over. So I'm not putting my ribbon exactly in the middle. I'm doing it a bit to the left. Okay, now I'm not going to put adhesive on the back side of here because I don't want to smush out all my wonderful texture that I created. And I'm going to also put my snail onto this cherry cobbler. So what I'm going to do is line this first so that you only see about 1/8 of an inch. This is merely there for a little pop of color. Okay, and then I'll stick this onto the front of my card. Okay, so now we are ready to do some watercoloring. So I'm going to be using my favorite watercolor medium, and that is going to be the watercolor crayon. So that's why I did it on watercolor paper. So I'm going to start though with my neutrals. And I'm going to go with the crumb cake, and I'm going to pick up color off the bottom. And the first thing that I'm going to do is do my shading. So I'm going to go all the way around the tree, the bird, everything. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going to really add some wonderful shading for your project. In fact, on the video, you may not even be able to see that it's there. It's just barely there. So I'm going to go all the way around. And this does not take long. Just pick up more color from your crayon as you need it. And get down here. Okay, so then I'm all done with the crumb cake. And let's go ahead and knock out the tree trunk while we're here. So I'm going to use soft suede. Then we're all done with the neutrals. And so now let's turn to our garden green. Some of this color picked up. And I'm going to just slightly kind of go over this tree very lightly to begin with. And that's actually too dark, but this is why I love watercolor paper. So I can get it all moved down. Watercolor paper is extremely forgiving. So still too much color up top. Just go through, pick it up. Your water on your aqua painter can work a little bit like an eraser. And I am going on top of the ornaments that are in the tree. It's not going to matter. And just go, 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 go. This is just our base coat of green. Alright, so I'm going to let this dry, and let's turn to that cherry cobbler. I'm going to do a cute little cherry cobbler bird on the top of our tree. Add a little bit more. And then because these little ornaments on the outside are not wet like the green is, and go ahead and do these in the cherry cobbler right now. Okay, and then I just use a paper towel to wipe off the excess. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll go back in and add more color. So I'm going to go back with my garden green, and I'm just going to do some shading. So I'm just going in and hitting where the little branches come down in the middle. Just kind of giving that area a second coat. I'm doing that area first so that these ornaments, around these ornaments here, will be good and dry. And then all the areas that has a little bit of natural shading, I'm just going to go in and highlight those. Just dabbling in some color. Okay, so I'm really happy with the first part of the tree. Now I'm going to go in with some cherry cobbler and pick up those ornaments. You can always add red on top. Okay, so now I'm really happy with this part. We're all done with watercoloring. I'm going to move these crayons out of the way. Bring our card back in. So the next thing I'm going to do is with our words, with this crumb cake. So I'm not as concerned with the left edge over here. I'm just going to cut a straight line, leaving about 1/4 inch. And then one of my favorite things to use to do a little insert with this is just a square punch. So I'm going to find my words, try to make my little thing, my little flag part symmetrical, and give it a punch. And so then you have your cute little pennant now. So the next thing I do is I take a bone folder and start breaking up the fibers one way and then curl it back the other way. So it's going to kind of have that nice wave on the front of our card. So I'm going to grab a handful of dimensionals and put them on the back side of our tree. I have one left. Perfect. Okay, peel these off. And put this on the front of our card. Then I'm going to take a strip of dimensional. So this is perfect. That was almost out. I'm going to tuck them right there onto my card, or onto the back of that cardstock, and then a mini glue dot onto the left-hand side. So I'm going to peel this part up, and this is going to tuck right at the bottom of my card. So because I use the dimensional, it's still kind of poofy, it holds that shape, but the mini glue dot really does help to anchor it down. So we're going to grab our ribbon again, and I'm just going to tie a single knot right here at the base. And just kind of pull it the direction you want it to go. Grab my ribbon scissors, give it a quick trim, and then we have one more step. Bling. We cannot not bling up this card. So I'm just going to take my snips, I'm going to take the largest rhinestone and put it right there. Then I'm going to go even more crazy. I'm going to grab another one. I'm going to put one on all my scallops. And it's just really going to make this card pop. That one wants to be ornery, but I will win. There we go. And one more. Okay, and so there we have our very cute, very elegant, so much fun Christmas card.